Hi, welcome to the Cook's Domain. Today, I'm going to be making a ramen. Now, a ramen is a Japanese soup, a noodle soup. And I know for those thinking, soup, I don't want to make soup. And I've had this come up before. You know who you are. Soup is just a bowl of liquid for most people, and there's a lot of people who don't want to eat a bowl of liquid. Now, there's other people out there who absolutely love soups and are confounded by people who don't like soup. But nonetheless, I digress. This is a soup, for those of you that don't know, that is extremely hearty. And my experience has been that whoever's never had one and then has one, it becomes an instant fan, wants to know how to make it and absolutely loves it. So some of you out there are thinking it's crazy, how can anyone not know what ramen is? And yet there are people out there who don't know what ramen is. So today I'll be making a shoyu ramen. That's a ramen that is seasoned mostly by soy sauce. But there are other types of ramens. There's shio, which is a salt concoction. And there's miso, obviously using like a miso paste concoction. And there are others. There's lots and lots of different types, but these are the three most popular. Today's shoyu ramen is going to be a chicken shoyu ramen. So the main protein will be chicken, and the broth that I'll be making for the soup will be chicken. And I know there's some people out there who do know a lot about ramen will be thinking about the dashi. It is perfectly acceptable, even in Japan, to make a ramen using just the chicken broth. Yeah. There are three main broths that ramen is made from. There's initially just the chicken, which is what we'll be doing today. There is the chicken dashi, which is a chicken broth that also includes the dashi, which is a Japanese stock. And then there's tonkotsu, which is made from pork bones, which is not what we're going to be doing today. If you don't have your own homemade stock, you can, at a pinch, use just chicken stock type cubes that you can buy from the shops. Is it the same? No, but you know, if you just want to make a quick ramen and see what it's about, you can definitely use store-bought cubes. So if you wanted to make a litre of soup, which probably 2 medium bowls of ramen soup, you're going to need 2 stock cubes or stock pots, which are probably better if you ask me. You can make your own chicken stock. Either go and see my video for making your own chicken stock, or you can make one for just ramen, and that's quite easy. You just add water to a pot, get some chicken carcasses that you might have had from leftover roast chicken dinners or whatever. Also, if you want to add some raw, that's a good idea too. They add a slightly different flavor. If you want a lighter broth, it's better to use raw chicken carcasses. Or you can just go and buy a box of chicken wings from your supermarket. It's pretty cheap. Just make sure to cut them through, break the bones, etc. The smaller the bits, the more flavor you get out of them. Put them all into a pot and put, celery, onions, carrots. Just follow the recipe as I've got online for my big pot of stock, but just do a smaller amount just so you can make your ramen. And then you can add direct to that the ingredients that we're going to add here as well to make it a more authentic Japanese flavored, if you will, chicken stock. Now, I'm obviously using my own homemade chicken stock that I freeze, and that's like a European style, but it's not a problem because it's a very chicken flavored stock, which I've got here, which is now melted into the pot. And I've used 2 pots because I want to make at least a litre of broth, if not more. I want to end up with at least a litre of broth. So I've got 2 pots here and a little water just to help it all dilute and just become a liquid again, which it's doing now, and now it's starting to heat up. To that we're going to add 1 tablespoon of sake. Now you can add more, you can add less, it's completely up to you, but I add about 1 tablespoon to every litre and a half of stock broth. Next we're going to add our spring onion or scallion onion tops. Okay, you don't need a specific measurement for this. Add as many or as little as you like. The more you add, the more flavor you'll get from these, and just put them straight into the pot. I've got roughly 150 grams worth there, but that's, I didn't plan that, just what it is from 1 bunch. We're also going to add 100 grams of Shiitake mushrooms straight into the pot. I'm going to add, for this small amount, half a bulb of garlic. And I've cut that down the middle just so that we can extract as much flavor out of these as possible. And the last thing we're going to add to that is some ginger. I'm just going to cut these into smaller pieces as well. And drop those straight into the pot too. Give that a mix. Just let that come up to temperature. Just let it gently simmer. You do not want a violent simmer here. You don't want the heat too high. Just let it gently simmer for at least, or a minimum of 45 minutes. The longer you leave it, the better. You will have to add some water back into this the longer you leave it, so that we can get the right quantity of broth. But just, yeah, the longer you leave it, the more flavor will extract out of these wonderful vegetables. So one of the ingredients to a ramen, if you've had a ramen bowl before, is a soft boiled egg in the ramen. Now, you can just make a soft boiled egg on the day, have it to the side, ready to go, and once you prepare and you've assembled your ramen, you can just add that. Or we can make a more authentic ramen egg, like you would find in the restaurants, and that's not difficult to do. But you might have to do it from the night before or do it early in the morning to give a chance for this to marinate, basically. And all you need for the marinade are 2 ingredients. Something you probably all have at home, soy sauce. But what you probably don't have is mirin. So you need to go to your local supermarkets, they all sell it, and get a bottle of mirin. And all you do is mix 2 parts mirin to 1 part soy, and put your soft boiled egg with, take it out of the shell, ready to go. Just drop it into the container that's got your soy and your mirin, and just let it marinate in it, overnight, a few hours, however much you like. The longer you leave it, the darker its color, and as you can see, this is what it would sort of look like. To get the perfect consistency of your egg yolk, here's my tip to boiling an egg. Put your saucepan on with water and get it boiling. You want it to be boiling, right? Absolutely rapid boiling. Then take your egg straight out of the fridge. Put the egg in, temper it a little. You don't want the shell to crack, so get like a slotted spoon or something with holes in it and just drop the egg in a little bit, bring it back out, drop it in again, bring it back out, and just do this a few times and then put the egg in. Once the egg's under the water, start your timer, 6 minutes, 30 seconds. And you'll have the perfect soft-boiled egg. Soon as the timer is done though, and I mean literally as soon as the timer is done, straight under a cold running water tap, and to bring the temperature right down, to cool that egg right down immediately, because it's still hot and it's still cooking. And if you were to leave it in that hot water, or even if you were just to take it out, it will continue to cook and it won't be where you want it to be. Then you can shell it and add it to your mirin and soy sauce concoction. What I would suggest for that is get a vessel that is as narrow as possible, but that would fit the egg in whole, because the bigger the bowl, the more you're going to waste your mirin and your soy sauce to be able to cover the egg in that fluid. So the narrowest vessel that you can get, say you were to put, say, 4 tablespoons of mirin and a couple of tablespoons of the soy, drop the egg, that should cover it. Now you'll find that the egg will float to the top. There's a couple of tricks to do that. Just get a spoon, a metal spoon, just drop it on top of the egg. You might get a little white spotting on that, but like I've got here, but that's not a major deal. If you want, just go back, turn it, and it'll color. Okay, so while our stock is slowly simmering away, I'm going to prepare my chicken for the ramen topping. So I'm going to be using chicken thighs, but you can use whatever you like. It's up to you. And also you can prepare this any which way you like. There's not, a specific recipe for how you do this. You can just drop these chicken pieces straight into the broth if you want and cook it that way. I'm no fan of boiling chicken personally. I don't like the texture of the chicken, but you can do that and you'll get a lot of chicken, even more chicken flavor into your stock. So that's definitely okay, but I won't be doing that either. What I'm going to do is I'm going to marinate this chicken a little bit and put it in the oven to cook. I'm going to crisp up that skin. So to a bowl, I'm going to add very finely chopped garlic clove. I'm going to add a half tablespoon of brown sugar. Just an approximate. I'm going to add a half tablespoon of mirin and a tablespoon of soy. And then mix those together. What I'm going to do now is coat my chicken pieces in this liquid. There's one, let's get the other one in there as well to coat. And then I'm going to put them both in to just sit just for about 10 minutes or so, and that'll be ready to go. Okay, so while this has been marinating for the last 10 minutes or so, I've set my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, and I've had it on just to get that to preheat. And what we're going to do now is take our chicken pieces out of the marinade and put them in a small baking tray, if you will. Now I like to sit them skin side up. I'm going to take this liquid and just pour it around the sides, not over the top. Okay, the reason for that is I want to get this skin quite crispy, and it needs to be dry, or at least drier than the rest of the chicken. And I'm going to sprinkle just a tiny amount of salt over the skin. Not too much, because the soy, as you know, is already quite salty. So just one pinch of salt over the skin. So what I'm going to do now is put it in the oven. It's going to take about 30 minutes for it to cook. Don't flip it or anything during that time, just leave it alone, and the skin should get quite crispy for us. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we have to consider what vegetables we're going to want in our ramen. Now, because I'm using the shiitake mushrooms in my broth, and they've got a lot to give. That's one thing people don't realize about mushrooms, is they always have a lot to give. And if you were just making a broth and didn't want to use the mushrooms today for anything else, fish them out, put them in a container, put them in a fridge, and you can make 5 or 6 more broths with those mushrooms quite easily. But today I'm going to be adding them into my ramen. So when I come to sieving this fluid to get rid of all the extra stuff that we've got in there, the garlic and the ginger and whatever, I will be rescuing the mushrooms, and they'll be going into my ramen. So that's one of my vegetables for today. Now, for vegetables, you can add whatever you like. Sugar snap, mange tout, little corn kabeti things, you know, the little baby corn things. You can add spinach, you can add pak choy, you can add anything you like. Today I'm keeping my ramen quite simple. I'm going to be adding carrots that I've cut into batons. The rest of the spring onion, the white part of the spring onion that I've cut julienne, or really, really thinly sliced. You can do it as rings if you like, it's completely up to you. And I'm going to add a little red chili. So my vegetables today is going to be the mushrooms, chili, the spring onion, and the baton of carrots. Now these are going to be quite hard and crunchy, and we don't want that. But we don't want to overcook them either. We don't want them to be soft. So what I do is I get myself a bowl, I put my carrots into those, and then what I will do now is cover these carrots in boiling water and just let them sit in it for 15 or 20 minutes, however long it takes until we're ready to use them. So boiling water, straight over the top. Just cover and let them sit 15-20 minutes. They won't be soft, but at least they won't be as hard as they are in their natural state. Okay, so now we have to prepare our tare. This is the flavoring, the seasoning of the ramen broth, and there are many different types, and every chef has their own secret recipe. But we're going to make a very basic one today. It'll be a wonderful tare, a wonderful sauce to make our ramen today. But there's lots of ways that you can combine lots of different other ingredients and come up with your own combinations, or go scour online and see other ways of making the tare. But this is a basic one that will make a fantastic ramen. So we want to measure out our ingredients for the tare. And the first thing we're going to need is 45 grams of soy sauce. So let's just pour that in till we get to 45. Okay, there we go, 45 grams of soy. We now want, let's zero that out. We now want 5 grams of mirin. There we go. Well, we went a little over, but that's okay. 1.5 grams of fish sauce. A little over, but that's fine. Not an exact science. And we want 2 grams of salt. Oh, let's zero that out. I'm just one of these people that I prefer over than under. All right, there we go, 2.5 there. Okay, that's roughly good enough. And all we want to do now is stir this together, make sure the salt dissolves. And this is enough for about 2 bowls of ramen. Okay, so let's talk noodles. There's a few different types that you can actually get in the supermarkets here. Firstly, then the cheapest one are these types, the instant noodle. But the good thing about using this is that the noodles themselves are just noodles that are in here. They're just dried noodles. And it comes with a couple of packets. One is full of flavorings and preservatives and whatever it is to give you your fake ramen flavoring. That you don't need, you'll throw that away. Usually they also come with a little sachet of flavored oil. If you don't have any flavored oils of yourself, or if you don't have any sesame oil, you can use that, or there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a little packet of oil, you can definitely use it. But the noodles in here are perfectly fine. They are instant noodles, so they do rehydrate pretty quickly. And if they're too long in your broth, they will go kind of spongy and gluey and kind of strange. But if you're going to make this and eat it straight away, there's nothing wrong with these at all, and it's by far the cheapest option. The next type that you can get is these like ready to go ones. They're like a fresh noodle, if you will. These just need heating up and they're ready to go, and they're perfectly fine too. They're quite expensive though, so and I can't say that I think it's that superior to using this, in my opinion. Definitely will be if you let this one sit in the broth too long, but overall I can't say it's any better. And the third type, which is the type I usually use and I don't seem to have today, I've run out and didn't realize, is just to buy packets of dried noodles. So it'll look very similar to what's in here. They need a little more cooking, they're a little bit more hearty, a little bit of flavor, but it's a dried noodle, and I think those are the best. And again, all supermarkets do sell those types of noodles. Now, I don't add these to the broth because there's a flour in here and they're going to release a lot of starch, and I don't want the starch to be in my broth. So what I would do is I will cook these separately. I will get another bowl, or another pot I should say, put some water in there and heat them up separately. And just follow the instructions that come with the particular noodles that you've bought. They don't need long. I mean, even these dried ones are ready to go in 4 minutes. If the better quality ones are not much more than that, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. These, like I said, they're already ready to go. Just a few minutes and they're in hot water. But I prefer to do it separately and plate them separately. Okay, our chicken thighs are ready. They were 30 minutes in the oven. Check out that crispy skin, perfect. Now, there's 2 ways that we can present these on our ramen. One way is to shred it, and another way is to chop it into pieces. It's completely up to you which way you'd rather do. If I'm going to shred it, then what I will do is to preserve as much of the crispy skin so I can put that straight in, I will remove it and slice that up. So let's do that now. And I will slice the crispy parts so I can add it as a topping. And then what I will do using 2 forks is just to rip it apart from the bones and then just shred it. Now you can also let it cool down and do it with your hands. Just do it with your fingers and shred it apart. It's completely up to you how you want to do this. Okay, so there's our shredded chicken and our stripped crispy skin, which I'm going to put as a topping over the top. Okay, so our broth has been simmering for about 45 minutes, and now we can sieve it and separate it from all the stuff that we've got in there. And what we want to do now is rescue the shiitake mushrooms. We'll put those straight into another bowl. Now you can, if you like, save the garlic pieces and put those into your soup as well if you like garlic. I like garlic pieces, so but what you can do, if you like the taste of actual garlic, just take a little piece and try it. Still holds a lot of garlic flavor, but mild. A lot of its garlic obviously is leached into the actual broth, but it's also super soft. There's no bite to it whatsoever. Now what we can do is now put this back into our pot just to keep it simmering and keep it hot. Okay, so we're now near the end of our ramen journey here. We just now need to cook our noodles. So these particular noodles only need 2 to 3 minutes in boiling water. I've got boiling water here on the stove, so let's just drop those in. So the first thing we want to do is add our tare. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of tare into the bottom of the bowl. The next thing we want to add is our broth. What I'll do now is I'll give that a little taste, just to see what the seasoning's like, because remember the tare is what seasons our soup for us. That is so jam-packed full of flavor, it's unreal. Okay, now that our noodles are ready, we just want to spoon those into the broth. Remember, each packet is usually 1 portion. So for 2 portions, you're going to need 2 packets. So we've got the noodles in. Now, we take some of our carrot. So I've done enough here for 2. And what I like to do is just to prop them up onto one side of the dish. So we have our carrots. We then want to get our spring onion shreds and just dot those around the soup. So we've got our spring onion in there as well. You want to take a little bit of our sliced red chili pepper and just dot a couple of those around. There we go. And then we want to take our mushroom and pile those all onto one side. So you could do it on the opposite end of your carrots. So now we've got our mushroom in there as well. And the last thing I want to add is my ramen egg. Sharp knife. Straight down the middle. Just realised you probably can't see what I'm doing. Take the ramen egg, just drop them straight into one side of the soup. Then we can take our shredded chicken and pile that on top. Not forgetting our crispy skin pieces as well. One of the last things that you definitely want to add is a flavored oil. I'm using just a small sesame, toasted sesame oil that I have here. And I just like to just dot it around the bowl. Don't need a lot. And it will float on top, and the noodles will pick up a little bit of that oil as you spoon them out, or using your chopsticks to get them out. And then a little bit of sesame seeds, which you can toast, over the top of there. And a final ingredient, if you have it, if you want to get it, is nori. Just push it down to one side of your bowl. And there we have it. Our chicken bowl of ramen.